All right. All right. All right. All right. Uh, I wish you guys could see all of the crap I have to do to get ready for these lives. So much stuff. If you can hear me, drop a one in the chat. Just helps me to know that you guys can hear me. Drop a one in the chat if you can hear me okay. So take that off there for a second. There we go. So if you guys can hear me, drop a one in the chat and we'll get going. I want to make sure I got a lapel mic on this time. All the audio is different. I want to make sure before we get too far into this that you guys can actually hear me. So do me a favor and drop a one in the chat, just so I know. Okay, we're good on Facebook. We're gonna have a little bit of a. What's up, Ben? We're gonna have a little bit of a glare there. Unfortunately, not much I can do about that. You guys can you see it on TikTok? Can you hear me on TikTok? Can you guys hear me on TikTok? May need to move this over. We can do that. How about we just do that? That's probably better. All right. Apparently nobody likes to respond on TikTok, so we'll get going on this. I don't necessarily have anything specific to talk about on the board today, but I wanted to have the board because I wanted to have opportunity to write stuff down. I want to bring some guests on to discuss a few things. So somebody on Facebook says, I listened to one of your podcasts the other day, super valuable. I'm still learning about podcasts, etc. I did my first one for Builder Trend little by little. By the way, if you're watching on Facebook, I can't see your name unless you click on that link that's somewhere around this video, and it will allow me to see your name. So I can see Ben's name, and that's it. I can't see anybody else's name. The other two people that commented, I don't know who you are. Yeah, so if you're watching this on TikTok and you guys want to jump on live and discuss anything about business, then feel free to do that. Sam, it doesn't matter if you put your name in there because if you comment again, I will not know it's you. It literally just says Facebook user. It doesn't identify you. So I guess if you never comment again, then it won't matter. But I can't see who you are. Yeah. So again, if anybody on this watching live on Facebook wants to jump on and have a conversation, you'll have to do it on TikTok because as of right now, that's the only way I can do that live in this live group. So let me get a drink here. I'm coming down with something. I think my wife got me sick. It's all respiratory stuff here and in the head and sinus and all that crap. On the podcast, the episode that dropped this morning, it was on the push-pull dilemma, right? Now, this is something that all of us deal with on an everyday basis, and we don't even realize it. If you didn't listen to the podcast, the push-pull dilemma is that everything in life, every aspect of life, business, personal, everything is either pushing us towards something, or I'm sorry, pushing us away from something or pulling us towards it, right? It's either, pulling us towards it or it's pushing us away. We're either being pulled towards relationships or we're being pushed away from relationships. We're being pulled towards specific type of work that we do or pushed away from it. We're being pulled towards hobbies or we're pushed away from it. And the one distinction that you need to make here is that sometimes when you're doing something new, the initial friction that you get from trying something new, we tend to think that it is pushing us away. So in other words, a lot of times contractors will join the my coaching program, and we start diving into the numbers. We start looking at marketing. We start diving into all these different aspects of their business, and it can be a little overwhelming. It's like, oh man, you mean I got to track my leads every single day and week, and I got to track my sales conversion rates, and I got to look at my P&L every month, and I got to track this, and I got to know my gross profit margins and my net profit margins, and I got to know all this stuff. And the answer is yes. If you want to have a successful business, you do. And so this initial reaction to, well, I'm not good with numbers, I'm not good with math, I'm not good with the financial stuff. We had this initial reaction that's kind of, stiff arm, like, hey, stay over there, stay over there. I don't want to get too close to you. And so we think that that's like a pushing effect because we don't like it. But until you've actually gone into it, until you've actually tried it, until you've put some time behind it, it's a false feeling of being pushed away. And I use the example on the podcast. This summer, my wife and I went to Cancun with a bunch of friends, and I went scuba diving for the first time. And not that it was on my bucket list, but it was something that I wanted to do. And so, uh, going scuba diving, like, I'm not really a fan of open water. I'm not a fan of the ocean. I don't mind being on a boat in the ocean, but I don't like swimming in the ocean. Too many Jaws movies when I was a kid. So I'd rather be on land than be in the ocean. However, scuba diving is a unique experience. And so I had to get over a lot of these kind of like not fears per se, but like just uncomfortable feeling of being in the open water and trying to breathe oxygen through a regulator, which is, there's nothing natural, by the way. If you've never done it, there's absolutely nothing natural about scuba diving. But the initial aspect of it, the first thing they had us do was go into the pool at the resort just to get used to the equipment. And I had a female instructor, and she was like, okay, let's, put the regulator in and let's just go down for 30 seconds, take some breaths, and then come back up. So we did that, came back up. She was like, how was it? And I was like, terrifying. Like, this, I don't know if I can do this. It's completely, I'm like freaking out. My brain is trying to process this idea of breathing underwater. And like I said, I've had some respiratory issues. I have asthma now, diagnosed asthma. And back then I didn't really know that. So it was an issue with breathing. And so the initial reaction to that is pushing me away. Whoa, Brad, what are you doing? You're gonna kill us. You're gonna drown us out here. What the heck are you doing? Heavy pushing, heavy pushing away. This is not natural. You should not be doing this. And I said, I'm like literally thinking in my mind, well, I can just quit. I don't care if I lose, the $200 or $300, whatever it was. Like, I just don't care. Like, I'll just walk away. And she was a very good instructor. She was like, well, let's just go around the pool, for 10 minutes and try it. And I was like, okay, fine, I will. And so we did that. And sure enough, after a few minutes, I got a little more comfortable with it. To the point to where I felt more comfortable of actually doing it. Fast forward the story, we're in the ocean. Before I know it, we're going down. And kudos to the instructor for like not letting me bathe in all of the overthinking that was going on in my brain, because we get in the water and I'm like, trying to prepare myself to go down. They got this rope, and she's like, all right, let's go. And she starts going. I'm like, well, crap, I guess I gotta go with her. So then we go down, and then before you know it, we're on the reef swimming, right? And at the end, it was a fun experience. I enjoyed it. I'm not saying I'm going to become a professional scuba diver now, but I enjoyed the experience. And that initial pushback that I got from in the water, in the pool, was like, do not do this. This is stupid, right? And so that's where a lot of times when we're doing something new, we're going to be the worst at it. That's when we're going to suck the most. Anytime we're learning something for the first time, we're going to suck the most at it. And so if you use that initial resistance, that initial pushing away as like a sign of like, oh, I don't like this, I don't want to do it, I'm not going to do it, the potential of you missing out on so much in your life is great. It's just enormous. The enormous amount of opportunity that you can miss out in life because you didn't push past that initial resistance it's mind blowing, right? And this is when I talk to a lot of contractors in the group who have never done, marketing. They've never done really good sales. They've never done sales over the phone, like this initial pushing back, this initial shock. That's not the same as you are naturally not good at something, right? So if you are not good at marketing at all, and you know that because you've tried it for 6 months and you can't figure it out and you hate every aspect of it, and you'd rather go pull weeds in your garden than try to do marketing, that's okay. You've at least attempted it and you've put effort into it. And now you can say, I'm not good at marketing, or at least I'm not good enough to do this myself. I need to hire someone to do that for me. Right. And so now, because the marketing aspect of every time you've tried it, it keeps pushing you and pushing you and pushing you away. And you have so much resistance towards that. That is where we need to find our sweet spot. And now we need to hire someone to do the marketing for us. Because what you shouldn't be doing in your business is doing all of the things that you hate and none of the things that you enjoy. Right now, there are some aspects of business that we got to do no matter what. Like, we need to look at a P&L every month. We got to look at our P&L to see how our business is doing, no matter what. If we hate it, it doesn't matter. We have to look at the numbers of the business, right? We need to be tracking the leads that we're getting, because we need to know how many leads we need in order to get the conversion rate that we have, in order to sell the revenue goals that we have. A lot of this data that we need to collect in our business, we have to collect it, even though we may not like it. It's not super sexy. We don't enjoy it. But I'm telling you that once you dive into it and you start seeing how that affects your business, when you start realizing that, if I collect enough leads, or if I get enough leads, enough data rather around leads, and then I apply that in my business, all of a sudden I make more money. And now I see my bank account go up and up and up. And that, if you're a business owner, that should be exciting to you to see your bank account go up. Now, I know not everybody's motivated by money, and that's okay. But you have to, let's be honest. I don't care what business you're in. I don't care if you want to be a multimillionaire or if you just want to have a good life. It takes money. It takes money to actually do these things, right? The only difference is like how much extra money. But I can tell you right now that 90% of the contractors that I talk to do not make enough money. Hands down, this is not even arguable. 90% of the ones I talk to do not make enough money in their business. So this isn't a matter of, I'm making $300,000 in my pocket every year and I don't really need to make another 500,000, Brad. I don't know. That's not what we're talking about. I'm talking about most contractors are making $40,000 to $50,000 a year. Not even enough to sustain their family, let alone their business. That's what I'm talking about. That's the reality of most contractors. Very few that I talk to are making over $100,000 a year in their pocket, like actually putting in their pocket before taxes, obviously. But I'm just saying what they're paying themselves is less than $100,000. Overwhelming. 95% that I talk to are not making more than $100,000. So we're not talking about like, oh, I'm going to make $500,000 a year. That's not what we're talking about, right? But you have to have money in your business to be able to grow and do what you want. Clay New Hope says, I pocket almost 200 based on what you teach. Awesome. So, some people do well, most don't, right? I would say, Clay, without knowing anything about your business, you're probably in the top 2% of contractors, maybe even the top 1%. Yeah, Butters is 400 here based on the Brad teachings. Yeah, Brad, not Brad. I'm Brad, by the way. Butters has done phenomenally well for himself. And Clay, Aquascapes, awesome. I've heard of Aquascapes, so that's awesome. Travis, do you want to jump on? You want to come live on TikTok and chat? Or are you busy doing something? LX Torres says, I'm a landscaper going on my 5th year as an owner and pocket 150 a year. Thank you. Awesome. Awesome, guys. Apparently the 2% are the only ones that follow me. Let me see if I can invite you here, Travis. There you go. You hear me? Travis, you're up.
Yeah, man.
I can hear you.
Okay. Why do you think it's only the 2% that are following you?
I don't know. I mean, just based on the comments, everyone who's commented is making over 100K.
How do I turn video?
There should be a button on your screen somewhere to.
TikTok is the worst.
But you don't have to have video on, man. I mean, if you want to.
Yeah, whatever. No, I just think it's interesting that, yeah, only the 2% are commenting. But I mean, do you think the dudes that are generally following you and actually listening are just doing better overall?
I think people that apply the what I teach, I think they do have success. I think they have more success. Obviously, I can't ask every single follower. But I mean, I have people commenting on my videos and stuff all the time that are like, yeah, I took your advice and now I make more money and I work less and all this stuff. So I think there's an overwhelming amount of people that do benefit, but I get way more direct messages. I get way more comments and way more, people reaching out that are struggling.
Well, okay.
Maybe the lives, maybe the ones watching the lives are in the 2%.
Well, and so where I'm going with that is it's kind of a comment here. Like if you take the time out of your day to hop on a live and participate and comment, then this stuff matters to you and you're paying attention and you're doing the work and you're in the mindset of change and growth and you get the results out of it, right?
Yeah, it makes sense. Like if you're watching lives because you want to get better, because you understand the value of learning and growing, right? So if you're not watching it live, you're probably swinging a hammer and stuck with your head down
Yeah,
and
exactly.
doing old ways. So, can you guys hear me on Facebook? Can you hear Travis talking? Throw a 1 in the comments if you can hear him. If not, I want to make sure because I got people on Facebook and I don't want them to just hear nothing while you're talking. LX Tour says definitely works. I used to work 7 days a week and before applying what you teach. Okay, awesome. So Travis, I obviously know, your backstory and stuff. What would you say was the single biggest thing that helped you have the most growth in your business?
Hiring business coaches, starting out with you to start with, and from that, learning what we need to charge and how to justify charging it. Because let's be real, like you look at the numbers that you have to charge to be profitable and you don't know them already, you're like, holy shit, those are big numbers. Who's going to buy it? But you figure out how to actually sell it to people and make people want to pay that much. And everything just rolls out from there.
So let me reframe that. Separate of hiring a coach. I mean, obviously you hired a coach, but I mean, what piece of information was the single biggest catalyst for you? I mean, was it understanding what you should charge? Was it the sales? Like, what was the biggest thing?
It was understanding what to charge.
Okay. So just pricing, like knowing how to
Yeah.
price.
Knowing exactly what needs to go into pricing from a business and like actual financial standpoint, not just, oh yeah, that number seems good. Like what the business actually needs to be profitable.
We should probably clarify more importantly than just pricing, but actually pricing correctly, right? Pricing for profit.
Yep.
Which coincidentally is, or I meant wrong screen right there. Number 2, price for profit. How much would you say mindset mattered?
Well, man, it's Everything matters all of the way.
Yeah.
It's not like one's 20% and the other's 30%. They all have to go together. If you're sitting here and you're looking at, oh yeah, you need to price at 40 to 50% gross profit, and then you put those numbers together and you're like, oh, there's no way I can ever sell that. That's ridiculous. That's too expensive. That's a bad mindset to have, and you'll never sell it. You have to have the mindset of being open to changing it. And if you're not in the mindset of learning, growing, and being open to change, then you will get nowhere. You can have all the information in the world and it does nothing for you.
Yeah. Yeah. And
Mindset
information
probably matters
without,
more than anything else, because if you're not going to, you don't have the mindset to use it, then what's the point?
right. And Benjamin commented on Facebook to the point of, information without implementation is useless.
And you have to be in a mindset to be willing to implement and make changes.
Yeah.
I think that's where a lot of guys get stuck, is they're like, no way, everything's fine just the way it is, and they don't feel like they need to change.
Yeah, you can
Until they're
go onto
bankrupt.
the free Facebook groups all over and see that mindset, right? Whenever, like every day, I see those comments on some of these Facebook groups for contractors, and it's just all mindset.
Until they're bankrupt and they realize they need to change, but by the time they get there, dude, it's too late. That ship has sailed, and there's no money to spend on change, and game over.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean that's you're racing against the clock. When you're not charging, you could speak to this, but when you're not charging enough, you're racing against two clocks. Either you're going to burn out or you're going to go bankrupt. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, we know the story. We experienced it. We didn't realize it happened until after it happened, and we sat there and looked at it, and we're like, "Oh, that would have broken us if we didn't fix it when we did."
And because after you joined and you started charging more, you still had some jobs that you had sold prior that you had to build out. Is that right?
Yeah. We had, right when we joined in January, we finished up a project in December-ish that we had undersold, and if we hadn't started charging more in that January, then we would have gone under from that project before. But we had the profit sitting there to eat that a little bit.
I remember.
Fortunately, like we had just barely made it on that one. Looking back, we didn't even realize we were in it.
Yeah, and I remember you talking about this in the group, and like you were glad that was done. Like because you knew, like even before you started the project, you knew like you may even potentially lose money on it. Is that right?
Yeah. No, that was one that we bid before we even knew anything
Okay.
and had our heads in our asses.
Okay. I thought you joined after you got some more information. You started raising your prices. I thought you still had to produce that job.
Yeah, we were still producing it.
Okay, I got you. And then
And so in the middle of it, we were like, "Oh shoot!"
right.
And then
But
at
you
the
had
end of it, we're like, "Oh man!"
But you started selling. You had started selling jobs since that at higher profit margins. Is that right?
Yes. Yep. Absolutely.
Which is what
We're
you're talking about.
averaging.
Helped offset
Yes.
that loss.
Yep. Having those higher margins helped offset that loss from that previous job.
Now, tell me if I'm wrong, or tell if you don't want to talk about it, that's cool too. But you sold a job like 3 months afterwards. It was like roughly like $100,000 more than you would have. Is that right?
Man, I've stopped keeping track of what I would have sold it for before, but I'm not quite sure which one you're talking about, but
It was like it was like 3 months after you joined, 2 or 3 months. It was like a
yeah,
substantial because you weren't charging material. I think it's important for people to know that you were one of those guys that like don't provide the materials, right?
yep, yep. Or we would bill later, post bill building materials. We wouldn't bid it, and then the clients would do the finished materials. Yeah,
Right. And I told you like, dude, you're losing tons of money. You need to start bidding the materials.
yeah.
And
We
so
had the opportunity to rebid a project that we already won. We had bid it before doing the profit club, and then the homeowner kind of disappeared, and then came back with substantial scope changes, and we had the opportunity to rebid it a few months later, and we kicked the margins way up and added all the materials in, and we made. I think that one in particular was an extra $40,000.
yeah, just that easy. I mean, I mean, the scope changed, but because the scope changed, it allowed you to go back and recalculate your numbers. Because if the scope didn't change and they came back to you, you wouldn't have made nowhere near that much money. Is that right? Did we lose him?
Yeah. So I think we made $60,000-$70,000 profit on that job, and we only would have made 30 previously.
Okay. I thought there was another job you bid on that you said that, using old numbers, you would have sold it for $100,000 less than what you actually sold. Now that includes material, not profit. I'm just saying you sold it for $100,000 more than you would have. I could be
That sounds right. I can't remember exactly, but that's entirely possible.
Gotcha. Well, yeah, man, that's awesome. Anything particular you want to talk about? Anything else you think that the conversation needs to be had or talked about? This is like completely open. Oh, he left or he got kicked out. No worries. Guys, if you are watching this live on TikTok and you want to jump on and have a conversation, feel free to send a request or just comment, in the chat, and I can invite you. I think Butters got disconnected. But if you want to have a chat, feel free to jump on. While we're looking or waiting on some others, one thing it's important to kind of point out of what Butter said. He joined the Profit Club first and got some of the basic and foundational stuff. Got the pricing right, you got the mindset right, you got a lot of the sales training right. And then after a period of time, he went on and joined other coaching groups, which is perfectly fine. Like, I'm not the end all be all, come spend all your money and time with me. That's not the point, right? And so what a lot of contractors will do is that, and I did this exact same thing. Once you join a course, once you buy a course, once you hire a coach, once you get involved in some kind of program and you see results from that, your brain is now trained to understand that when you invest in yourself, the outcome is a X multiplier. Could be a 2x, a 5x, a 10x, a 50x, a 100x, whatever. But once you invest in yourself and then you see the return, now you become almost like addicted to coaching, right? Like you become addicted to learning. You become addicted to getting help in your business. So myself included, I think when was it? It's probably been 4 or 5 years now. I'm terrible with time frames. About 4 or 5 years, probably about 2019, maybe 2018, 2019. Still struggling in my business, and I found some guy online that does coaching and stuff, and he was doing like this 2-hour training on marketing, like how to get more leads. And the course, it was $67. So you pay $67 and you got access to like this 2-hour training. And I remember distinctly, like deciding, like thinking about, like, man, is this $67? That's a lot of money. I don't know. Is this going to be, is this going to be worth it? A lot of these guys are scams. I've paid like $20 for something that wasn't worth anything. And I'm like, man, $67 is a lot of money. I paid the $67 and thinking, this better deliver. Like this workshop better deliver. And there was a lot of good information in there. I mean, looking back on it now, it was way more valuable than $67. But when you're in that place where you don't have much money and it's a lot of money to invest in, whatever it is, whether it's a course or I said coaching or a book or one little thing, a worksheet, whatever it might be, it's a lot of money. But from that $67, I went on to spend tens of thousands of dollars. Like over the last 4 or 5 years, that $67 investment kicked off this kind of addiction of of learning, of investing in learning, right? Investing in coaching, investing in courses, so on and so on. And from that day, I don't I don't keep track of all the money I spend, but what I can tell you is that even since the last 2 years, just in the last 2 years, I've invested over $60,000 in coaching of some kind, just in the last 2 years, and not all of it works. Not all of it works out. I've invested $17,000 in one program that hasn't made a single penny yet. I've invested a few $1,000s in programs that there wasn't a monetary gain, but it was other types of gain. One example, I paid $6,000 to to two people to learn how to be better on camera. I wanted to learn how to be more confident, how to be better on camera. $6,000 to learn that because it was a weakness in my area, in my life. It was a weakness in my business. I wasn't good on camera. And we could argue, like, even today, I'm not great on camera. I don't have this glowing personality that everyone's attracted to and wants to be a part of. And that's debatable. But I spent that money, is what I'm saying. That's not a direct, like, business type of coaching thing. That's not like, oh, I invested $6,000, I get good on camera, and then that's going to make me $100,000 profit, right? It doesn't work like that. It's purely from an investment of, I want to be better in this area of my life. I know that indirectly it could potentially make me more money. This is for something that is not even the reason why I'm talking about this is it's not even directly related to like your business work, right? If you're hiring a coach or you're joining a program or you're buying a course or even buying a book that's business related, that's an investment into yourself, which is going to pay dividends forever. It can pay dividends forever. And so you can't look at this as I only have X amount of money in my bank that I can, as an expense. Because most people, when it comes to any type of continuing education, they see it as an expense. I can't afford to join this program. I can't afford to buy this book. I can't afford to go to this conference. I can't afford to do this because I don't have enough money right now. And while like financially that may be true, you may only have $3,000 in your bank account right now, right? And so like going and spending $4, $5, $6, $7, $10,000 on some kind of program financially may not make sense to you because you don't have the money. But if there was an opportunity, oh, and by the way, that $6,000 that I paid for the how to get good on camera, I put it on my credit card. I didn't have the extra $6,000. I took a chance. I took a risk. I paid the $6,000 on my credit card, and then within a few months was able to pay it off. Right? That's the difference between going all in on yourself, burning the ships, if you will, right? Washington crossed the Delaware and then burnt the ships because the guys couldn't leave. They were all in. They were either going to attack their way to victory or they were all going to die. That's the level of commitment you need to have on yourself. You need to go all in on yourself and stop trying to afford everything. Stop trying to save up all of the money so that you don't have to be in debt. And I'm not saying like go out there and spend $50,000 on something that you don't have and then put yourself out of business. That's not what I'm saying. If it makes sense, if the information is available, if there's plenty of evidence that X thing works, meaning you have case studies, you have testimonials, there may be some kind of warranty or guarantee. If all of the stuff lines up that says you're going to get a return of your investment, right? Then go for it. Don't make the excuse, I don't have the money right now. You have to go all in on yourself. And I'm not even talking about like joining my stuff. I don't care if you don't join my stuff. I'm talking about just getting any kind of help at all in your business. It's an investment. It's not an expense. An investment makes you money. Most of you who are invested in the stock market, like a lot of you have 401ks, or you have, you actually dabble in the stock market, maybe you're a day trader or whatever. Your money is 10 times more at risk in the stock market than it is at hiring a competent coach or investing in yourself. Just telling you right now. But for whatever reason, like, you think the stock market is a safer bet than betting on yourself. And think about this too for a second. When you put your money into an annuity or stock market, you have no control over that. You literally have zero control over how much money you make. If you buy a course, or you hire a coach, or you buy a book, or you watch some, videos that you pay for, you have full control. You have 100% control on the outcome that you get in your business, because it's 100% based on how much effort you put into it. Jared says scarcity mindset makes you think the money will run out. Yeah, 100%. 100%. I remember going to I joined a coaching group, and then like 3 months after I joined, they had this get together at it wasn't really a conference per se. It was kind of like a conference, but it was like a get together for a few days. There was some teaching. There was some. We went and toured the Dave Ramsey's Financial Peace University building. I got to meet Dave. Took my picture with him. Excuse me. And by the way, like, a lot of the stuff I'm telling you contradicts what Dave says. I'm just throwing that out there. We went through Dave's course. I paid off like 60 grand worth of debt with my wife early on. I'm a big fan of Dave's teachings on personal debt. I don't agree at all with him on business debt. I don't agree with all of him on how you use your money all the way across the board. Okay, because what you need to consider about Dave is that Dave is teaching you based on human behavior. The way he structures his debt finance payoff is based on human behavior. So if you're just using your credit card to buy everything and swipe everything and you don't pay it down, that's a human behavior problem. If your business is making money and you're not making enough, and you go put, $3,000, $4,000, $6,000, $7,000 on your credit card to get education, which is then going to make you money on the back end, that's an investment, right? Some of you guys will pay $8,000 to spend money on toys that you have. You want a new dirt bike? No problem. I'll drop $8,000 on a new motorcycle all day long. Depreciating asset. That's fun, Brad. But spend $8,000 on coaching that's going to make me $100,000? No, that doesn't make any sense. That don't make any sense. I'll have to wait until I save up. I'll go get a loan for that motorcycle and pay, 15% interest rate for 20 years so I can have a motorcycle. But damn, make that, spend the same amount of money that's going to turn around and make me $100,000. I can't do that. No, I can't do that. Speckholm says at 19, I bought over 25 contracting and business books. Oh, and started my company at 24. Best thing ever. Yeah, I know, Spec Holmes. You've been in the game for a long time, and even when I started in 2009, there wasn't websites, there wasn't social media, there wasn't YouTube, there barely was an internet that had information, right? I mean, people are still using phone books to advertise, and so there's so much more information available today. The fact that I can come live to you and you're watching on your phone is absolutely game changer for a lot of people. But at the end of the day, you still have to take that information and actually take action, which is what Ben was saying in Facebook. You have to implement what you learn. He says, I put the Profit Club on a credit card. Zero choice but to make it work, life-changing. Ben took a chance on himself. He took a chance on himself. Ben, what's your you don't have to give numbers, but how much have you surpassed in revenue this year over last year? Like, have you doubled, 2x your revenue? Oh, there you go. He just said it. He actually put it in there when I was saying it. Ben had a $200,000 increase this year because of coaching. None of his equipment can move the needle like this. So he's had a 3x increase in revenue. Now think about that for a second. He's had a 3x increase in revenue in 1 year because he spent money on coaching and he put it on his credit card. That is someone who burned the bridge. I mean, the boats. Ben says, I don't have the cash. I don't know if this guy is full of crap. I'm going to take a chance. I'm going to put it on my credit card and I'm going to burn the boats. And he burnt the boats and he went forward and he's been killing it ever since. And for me, like, this is like a proud papa moment. I love seeing my clients win. I love it when they have numbers like that. Like, that's why I love doing this. So yeah, Spec Home says, nice job, Ben. Awesome teaching, Brad. Appreciate it. This is a complete side note, by the way. Like, a lot of people ask me, like, why did you quit your business to do this? It's because what Ben's talking about is way more fulfilling in life than remodeling a bathroom. And there's nothing against doing that stuff, because I probably will get back in the game. But this, like, coaching for me is what it's all about. I love this. I love seeing people win. Jared commented. He's another one of my clients. He says he's at a 3% or a 3x increase in profits too. And the thing about Jared, and he says this all the time, he waited a year. So we had a conversation, and I actually don't remember the first conversation, Jared, that you and I had, but we had a conversation about joining, and he didn't join at that time, and he waited an entire year, 12 months before joining. And he said, I feel waiting was the biggest mistake of my career. Because if you go, even like if you wait 3 months, that's 3 months worth of missed opportunity in getting education and getting information. And like even Travis, when he joined, he like he said, if he hadn't started charging more and selling jobs at a higher profit before he fulfilled that one that he already sold, he probably would have went out of business. So waiting is never the solution. I mean, it's just not. Waiting to join coaching is never the solution. The only decision you have to make is, am I going to get coaching or not? Right? Like, are you the one that can help me or not? It's not, I can't afford it, so I'm going to wait. That's not a decision you should ever have. That's never the option. It's, do I want coaching or no? Are you the guy that I'm going to invest in or not? It's not, I need to think about it or I need to save up for 3 months. That's never the solution, ever. And by the way, I had a guy today. He may even be watching this. I don't know if you're watching it. But I had a guy today that I talked to a couple weeks ago. He's interested. He didn't have the money. I understand. Didn't have the money. He wanted to wait until he got paid on a job a few days later. That's okay. If you know you're going to have an influx of money in a few days, no problem. The money didn't come, and he kept pushing it off. Today he canceled. It was like, whenever I get the money, I'll call you back. And I usually don't do this. But I just straight up called him out, and I said, no, you won't. You're not going to call back. And the reason why I know you're not going to call back is because the percentage of contractors who told me to my face, I don't have the money right now. I need to save up for a few months. I got a job coming next month. I'm going to get paid in 2 weeks. whatever the future timeline is of getting the money, the percentage of contractors who called me back and said, I'm ready to join now, is 0%. 0%. Because in 2 weeks or in 2 months, you're going to save up a few $1,000s, and then the transmission is going to go out in your truck. And you're going to spend all that money. And then you're going to be back at zero again. Or you need to buy a new tool, and in your mind, buying that $2,000 tool is going to make you more money. And so you buy that tool, and then it's another 2 or 3 months before you can save up. That behavioral pattern is what keeps you broke. Because if you were able to save the money, you would already have saved the money. I have it written right here. You can't see it, but it's on my wall right here. It's one of my favorite quotes. It says, by Albert Einstein. It says, we cannot solve our problems with the same thinking we used when we created them. And what that means is, if you don't have the money now, then you don't have the right information to know how to make the money. And because you don't have the information, you'll never be able to make that money. So in order to solve the problem of making more money, you have to gain new information, i.e., get coaching. So it may sound circular to you, what comes first, the chicken or the egg, but the reality of it is, if you have to beg, borrow, steal, donate blood, plasma, become a hooker, I don't care. Like, if that's the solution that you believe is going to carry you out of burnout or bankruptcy, you better make the investment now instead of waiting 3 months. Because I would bet against you. If there was a bookie where you could place bets on, like, if the contractor is going to call back in 3 months and join, I would 100% bet against you. I would freaking bet the farm against you. And that may hurt. That may like sound like a really crappy thing to say, but I have the data because I'm the one talking to these guys. I'm the one talking to you. I'm the one having the conversations with you. I have all of the data, and the data is there's a 0% chance you're going to follow up in 2 or 3 months or 6 months. 0%. Does that not blow your mind? It's freaking crazy to me. Spec homes, I mean, I can do financing. They won't do it. They won't take the financing. So, and it again, this actually is a conflict in my own brain, right? Because I am a Dave Ramsey student. I am a believer in God. I'm a Christian. I do believe if your debt is borrowed to the lender, or you're slave to the lender, borrow is slave to the lender, if I could talk normal. I believe in all that stuff. And so I don't think you should have debt. I think you should live debt free. I agree with all of that, 100%. But at the same time, if there's a solution to your problem right in front of you, and then it requires you to spend some money and put it on a credit card or get a loan, a small loan, to get that information, then that is a solid investment. It's a solid investment. The purpose of any kind of investment is to go out in the world like little fingers, and then they come back to you in a near period of time, a short period of time, and they're like, boss, guess what? I brought 10 friends with me. 10 guys go out, they come back with 90 friends. That's the whole point of an investment. It's to put money to work. So when you get any kind of coaching or program or anything, and by the way, this ain't just like coaching. Like, if you hire a marketing company that's going to do all your marketing for you, and they're a legitimate marketing company, and you're paying them a monthly fee to manage that, that's an investment. It's returning leads, which is jobs, so which is revenue. So it's not just coaching. It's anything you invest into. It's supposed to make you money back. That's the whole purpose of it. So, if you could spend $10,000 and make $100,000 guaranteed, would anybody need to think about it? Like, seriously, would you need to think about that? What if you spent $10,000 and you only made $50,000? Is that still a decent investment? What about if it's a $10,000 investment and you only make $20,000? Is that still a decent investment? I mean, you have to decide that, because it could be you invest $10,000 and you don't make 20,000 for 10 years. Well, that may not be a very good investment. But you could invest $10,000, or maybe even $5,000, and in 6 months you make $50,000. I mean, if I can invest $5,000 and in 6 months make $50,000, sign me up for that. Sign me up. By the way, that's how all of the pyramid scheme people get screwed. The Bernie Madoff, or whatever his name is, Madoff, right? That's how they screw you, because you give them $1,000 and they call you back 2 weeks later and they go, "Hey man, here's $2,000, here's $3,000." You're like, cool, let me increase that. Like, that's a scam. That's a legitimate scam. That's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about a solid investment in yourself. Paul says, I spent $8,000. Well, that's not true, Paul, but it's close. You spent $8,000 on the Profit Club. It's more than paid for itself, and I barely take any of Brad's advice. Now, that's true. That is true. Paul never takes my advice. So there's 4 people on Facebook. There's 12 people on TikTok. And almost half of those people that are watching are clients of mine. Why is that? They get to talk to me 3-4 times a week, right? Why is that? It's because they understand that there's value out there and they want to receive that value. So we're almost at an hour. I don't want to keep talking. I know some of you that are watching this that are on the fence, I'm just going to call it as it is. You're not going to take any action. You're just going to, end the live, jump off the live, and then keep doing the same thing you've always done. And that's okay. You can do whatever you want. You're just going to keep getting the same results, right? And even if you don't talk to me and if you talk to someone else, that's okay too. But if you're stuck in your business and you're not taking action on yourself, if you're not investing in yourself, you might as well just quit. Like, seriously, you might as well give up on your business, because there's no point in going 2, 3, 4, 5 years barely struggling to survive, only to quit in 5 years to go bankrupt or burn out. There's no reason to do that. There's people like Spec Homes who would hire you in a heartbeat if you're a good contractor. Like, he needs foremans and project managers and lead guys. There's no reason to not take action on yourself and invest in yourself. You might as well just quit now, because all you're doing is prolonging the agony. Spec Home says, I'm not a client. I do very well, and I still enjoy listening and supporting you. And you do. I appreciate you. And it's worth noting that you don't always agree with everything I say. And that's okay too. Right? That's what makes the world go around. Differences of opinion. And by the way, one last thought. If you are following me, or you're following someone else, or you're getting information about what you're doing, if you agree with it all and it makes complete sense to you, then you already know the information. So in other words, if you're learning something new that's going to help you, it's going to sound counterintuitive to you. It has to, because it's new information that you've never heard before. So you don't like, oh, this guy makes sense, everything he says I agree with. Then you probably don't need coaching. But if you're listening to me or anyone else and they say, and the guy's telling you stuff and you're like, man, I never thought about that. He says the charge for estimates, but I don't think that's even possible. I don't think you could ever do that. That's counterintuitive, right? That's counterintuitive information to what you know. So when you learn new things, it should be counterintuitive to what you know. Smith lecture, I have no clue when I'm watching, to be honest. We're just guys having fun. Smith Electric. We're just talking and having fun. That's what we're doing. So, Stormore says he's waiting, like I did. Paul says, "Damn, I agree with most everything. Yet I need coaching more than anyone." Paul, not to throw you under the bus, but you don't really need more coaching. You just need to take action, dude. you need more action. That's what you need. I've already given you all the coaching you need. You just need to take more action. And by the way, that's the secondary benefit is the accountability. Yeah, Paul says, I agree. See? All right, guys, that's enough. Jared, I want to hold on. There's a couple more comments I missed. John said, the Profit Club changed my life. I can't believe I was second guessing it for months before joining. Well worth the investment. Jared said, I was on the verge of going out of business the whole time I waited. I literally borrowed the money to join, made my money back in less than 2 months. That's a pretty normal response is, make your money back. I've had people join and not do anything. Like I've had people pay me a lot of money and then literally disappear. And I text you. I'm like, hey, what are you doing? Where are you at? I haven't seen you in 3 weeks. Is everything okay? Can I help you with anything? And anybody who's watching this that's a client of mine can testify to the fact that I don't just take your money and run. Like I genuinely want to help you win. And so a lot of guys watching this, I send them messages here and there and check on them, see how things are going. So there's people that have joined and never done anything. Like they just disappear. They go into witness protection and I can't ever find them again. But they never ask for their money back. They don't ask for a refund. I've not had a single person to date, knock on wood, ask for a refund. Paul says, wait a minute, got a couple coming in. Okay, Smith says 100% of the time it's our fault. I agree, Smith. Spec Holmes, Paul, even minors even mirrors. Action is action. You have to wake up and put your pants on and take action. Brian says, Smith says, well, I'll just have to watch some videos and then figure out what you're about. Or you can just schedule a call with me and I can share all that information with you. Paul says, I was in a rut last couple of months. I was with taking action, need to get back into it. And then he says, how much does your stuff cost? Smith, it just depends on what we're going to, what you want to do. If you want to join the Profit Club or if you want to do some one-on-one stuff, there's a few different price points. And if you want to, Smith, you can just go to my profile. There's a couple ways. You can go to contractorprofitblueprint.com. You can go to hammerandgrind.com, which is on the bottom of the screen. You can go to my profile and click there and you can schedule a call, whatever. You can do that. Bryce says, what advice do you have for an 18-year-old wanting to start his own carpentry construction company? Bryce, I would try to gain as much information as possible. The best thing for you, honestly, although you probably won't want to hear this, is to go work for somebody else for a year or two and not just work for them to like get trade experience, work for them to see how they do the business side of it. That's the best thing because and maybe you're different than me, but when I was 18, I wasn't responsible enough. I wasn't mature enough to start a business. That's, again, you may be able to, but it's a pretty young age with hardly any experience to go start a business. You could partner with someone, although I wouldn't really recommend that. I would say go and work at least a year, if not 2, for someone else to get all of the business, as much business experience as you possibly can, and just consume as many YouTube videos and TikTok videos and as much information as you can. You can join my free Facebook group and ask questions in there if you want. Yeah, Bryce, that's cool. You work as a full-time carpenter at a company and then you do your own little side jobs. I can tell you right now, doing side work is absolutely nothing like doing it to make a living. It's just not. And when you're doing side work, you're not doing as much production, right? Because maybe you're doing like one job a month, or maybe you're doing a couple jobs a week, depending on what it is. When you start a business, if you don't have a good foundation, you'll run out of leads very quickly. You'll go through all your friends, all your family, and all your network really quickly. And then before you know it, you won't have any jobs. So it's not the same as doing side work. Again, I'm not saying you're not capable of doing it, but I like where you're working at now. I would be asking the owner a lot of questions about business without putting off the red flag that you're planning on starting your own business. If that makes sense. Like, pay attention. How does he do things? How does he interact with the customers? How does he give you work orders? How is that information processed? Like, start paying attention and like taking notes of what the owner does. And maybe he's not doing a good job. Maybe he's a terrible owner. Take notes of what not to do. Right. So, Who's Your Drywall Guy says, listening to this man has definitely increased my revenue. I appreciate him very much. Thanks, man. I appreciate that. I got to go, guys. Benjamin says, I have way more one-on-one conversations with Brad than I thought. Always appreciate the help. Yep. Yep. On paper, like on contractual paper, I don't commit too much, right? But beyond that, I'm fully invested in my clients. So somebody says, I don't know who you are. I've made my money back on Brad's coaching just with saved money from the action Brad has told me to take. Yeah. So, all right, guys, it's 5:06. I went over. Was not even planning on talking about this whatsoever, but sometimes that's how life goes. Thanks for hanging out with me. If you want more information or to talk about options, always reach out to me. Feel free to reach out to me. You can go to hammerandgrind.com. You can go to contractorprofitblueprint.com. You can go to my Facebook group, the Contractor Profit Blueprint. You can find me on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, Hammer and Grind Podcast. You can listen to my podcast. I didn't tell you that, Bryson. Go listen to my podcast. I have 140 episodes. So like that right there is an entire, that's an entire 2 years worth of podcasts to help you in your business. And yeah. All right, guys, I got to go. So you can listen to my podcast anywhere, Spotify, whatever. You can, all your favorite platforms. It's just the Hammer and Grind Podcast. You can just search for it, Hammer and Grind Podcast. All right, guys. Have a great one. I'll see you. Thanks for tuning in.